How to repair sinking patio pavers. Now this is a fairly easy project. You just have to take your time. This was my existing walkway. It had settled substantially. The first step is just getting out the first paver. I used a thin blade and then also a screwdriver to pry it free. After the first one's removed, the rest are removed very easily. For some of the heavier pavers, you can use a couple of screwdrivers and a small piece of wood. Make yourself a little lever. Note that I'm placing all the pavers in the same pattern that they were taken out. This way, I don't have to go back and take a look at the design or take a look at a photo. It just makes it simpler putting them back into place. So I'm just going to remove this section that had settled. I'm going to fill in the missing sand or the settled sand with a multi-purpose sand I got from Home Depot. I prefer this rather than play sand. It's a little bit coarser and it should hold up to the elements and to washing away a little bit better. I'm also going to use a 2x4, which I cut down on a table saw so that it is the same thickness as the pavers. And I can use this just as a guide as I'm leveling out all of the sand so that I know that I have the right height. Now, I mentioned before, this is not rocket science. You do need a couple of tools and you just need to be able to take your time. You are going to need a rubber mallet, which is very important. A couple of screwdrivers. I highly recommend a rubber mat to kneel on, especially if you're an old guy like me and have bad knees. And a piece of wood. I'm just using a 2x4. This is the same one that I cut down to the height of the pavers. And that's just so that you can make sure that there's no edge sticking up. It's just a very easy way of knowing whether it's at the right height. So the steps are pretty simple. I'm going to fill in with the multi-purpose sand, spread it out. And when I get it to about the right height and fairly even, I'm going to use that cut 2x4 to kind of press it all down, and then I want to stamp it all down. I'm just using the piece of wood and the rubber mallet. Once it's all stamped and fairly firm, I'm going to add a little bit more loose multi-purpose sand right over the top so that this way when I do hammer that paver into place, it's going to kind of settle into that loose sand. I'm going to scrape away any dirt that remains on the edges of the paver that I'm putting back in. And then trying not to get my fingers wedged, I'm going to drop that paver into place. Now, if the paver is too low, you can certainly pick it up and add some sand, and vice versa. If it's a little bit, sticking up a little bit too high, you can pound it into place with the rubber mallet, or you can remove a little bit of sand. You'll get the hang of it after doing a couple. That's my cut 2x4. So after I filled in this area, I can visually see that it's approximately the right height. I can use that to stamp down all of the sand. And then really I'm just going to repeat the process down the whole walk. I had set aside almost a whole day to do this project, and really finished it off in maybe 2.5, 3 hours. And that included an extra run to Home Depot because I didn't buy enough sand. For this little run that I did, I ended up using 2 bags of the multi-purpose sand and then 1 bag of play sand, which I'm going to use to sweep into all of the cracks when I'm done. So here I'm doing another area. I'm going to stamp down all of that multi-purpose sand. And this multi-purpose sand is really nice. It lets water drain through it relatively easily, and because it's a little bit coarser, it really holds up. Doesn't float away as easy as play sand does. So I've stamped the sand down. I've compacted it. Now I'm adding a little bit of loose sand over the top. I'm really just doing the same process over and over, same steps. I'm going to scrape away any remaining dirt that's stuck on the sides of the paver. Drop that paver into place. In this case, I have to add a little bit of sand, just so that it's at the right height. And then using the rubber mallet, stamp it into place. Using my board to check that all of the edges are even. And then I just repeat the process down the line. You actually do get into a fairly decent flow once you start working with it. And then the final paver into place. And now the final step here is to take play sand and sweep it into all of the crevices, all of the spaces in between each paver. You really want to do this with a nice dry play sand, and you might have to do it 2 or 3 times. Let it settle overnight and go back and sweep some more sand into it. You want to really fill up all of those voids so that each paver really locks into place. And this is the finished result. Please check us out on the web at DIYEasyCrafts.com for a variety of do-it-yourself crafts and projects for the homeowner. Thank you very much for watching.